Hey, Robert here from Absolute Body Systems. This video today is going to be about thyroid function and the adrenal glands, adrenal fatigue. I'm quite excited about this one because it's a topic that is quite controversial, and it's something that not a lot of people know a lot about unless they actually question it. So first of all, what I need you to understand is that we're really living in an age, in a generation now where everything's pretty much man-made diseases. And what I mean by that is that a lot of diseases that we have these days are brought upon by our lifestyle. We have more resources readily available to us. Things are a lot cheaper than they used to be because they're pretty much made of shit, either junk food or synthetics, and everything's pretty much readily available to us, and that then jeopardizes our health. Hence the reason we're in this unhealthy situation. So let's talk about thyroid function. This is a problem that occurs a lot more in women than what it does in men, although it does occur in both. And you can obviously be hypo or hyper, low thyroid function or higher thyroid function. And what basically is, it's the body's reaction to stress. So let's have a look at how this stress comes about, shall we? Well, it's pretty easy to work out. If you have a lot to think about it, just go through the chain reaction of what actually happens. So your pituitary releases TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, and it basically stimulates the thyroid and tells it to release T3 or T4. And before any of that happens, there's a little thing in the back of your brain called the hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus is where it's kind of like this sensory area of your body. There's a sensory network that fires round about this hypothalamus that it senses anything in the body that's basically not right, excess or deficiency. And where there's an excess and deficiency, it will then send out the appropriate messages to the appropriate glands and cells and what have you around the body, organs, in order to get them to function in a specific way. In this case, so the hypothalamus basically gets a message that there's something wrong with the thyroid, be it over or under, and it then sends a message to the pituitary. And from there, the link goes on from the pituitary. It tells the thyroid to release a specific hormone or hormones, in this case T3 or T4. And to make it really simple, T3 and T4 just means thyroid 3 and thyroid 4. And if you want to make it even more simple, it just means 3 molecules of iodine and 4 molecules of iodine. It's really that simple. Sometimes what happens with the thyroid function is that we start to overcomplicate it a little bit. Whereas if you just keep everything really simple, it's not that hard to go wrong. So let's move on to the next part of what we're going to talk about. If I can just negotiate this roundabout. From the thyroid, once the thyroid is released to T3 or T4, it then binds to a protein and then carries out its normal metabolic process throughout the body. This can be known as TBG, thyroid binding globulin. And the thyroid binding globulin is basically what the hormone sticks to as it carries around the body. Now there's a problem if the body is under stress and the thyroid's not working. You release a hormone called cortisol. This is your stress hormone. Cortisol is an amazing hormone under a small amount of time, under short term. However, over a longer term, over a longer period, it can be detrimental to your health, and it's something that can cause weight gain amongst a few other things. And what it does is the cortisol is released by the adrenal glands being under stress. It can also be known as adrenal fatigue, and it slows down the TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone production, which comes from the pituitary into the thyroid itself. From there, the constant stress equals, like I said, low function of the thyroid, and it creates a whole spiral of events. So let's look about it a little bit closer and work out what's actually happening then. So why is all this actually happening? Well, if you look at how we lead our life, we have, we mentioned T3 and T4, which is 3 and 4 molecules of iodine. We used to get iodine through things like fibre-based foods and grain-based foods. So for example, bread. They discovered a little while back, quite a few years now, that they could take iodine out and replace it with bromine. The problem with replacing it with bromine is that it's obviously not good for the human body, for human consumption, but it also mimics the effects of iodine. So the thyroid, sorry, just make sure I was going to run over that guy that was walking in front of me. It mimics the effects of iodine, but because it's synthetic, what happens is the body sends out antibodies to fight against this foreign body, and it attacks the thyroid gland itself. So basically your own immune system attacks the thyroid, which is obviously not a good thing. This can happen the same effect from chlorine from tap water and such like. So yeah, definitely not a good way to go. So if you want to continue eating white bread, then be my guest, but it's not something I would be looking to do if you're looking to sort your thyroid function. Now, the hormones can get to like specific organ and tissues, or it can get to the specific organs and tissues unless it's being transported by the TBG, the thyroid binding globulin. The problem with this is that you must have the thyroid binding globulin to carry the thyroid molecule around. So if the TBG is not there, then T3 and T4 is not carried around the body sufficiently, and this then presents the problem, which is why you go to your doc and you're then given thyroxine, antidepressants, amongst a bunch of few other things. It's all the bad things that are affecting it. Then the T3 and T4 can't bind, basically, can't bind to the TBG. So just to recap, your body becomes stressed. When your body becomes stressed through emotional, physical, psychological, environmental stresses from any of the above, cortisol is released from the adrenal glands. And when the cortisol is released, it slows down TSH. When the TSH is slowed down and cortisol is released, the thyroid, digestion, serotonin to the brain, it also decreases. And when it decreases, you then obviously have a problem. You don't know what's wrong with you. You go to your doctors, and they prescribe you with thyroxine, antacids, antidepressants, all those things that are pretty much synthetic and don't really contribute to your overall health. So we're this far into it, so you're really just understanding what the problem is with your body. So let's look at the adrenals now. The adrenal glands, they're a wonderful creation in the human body because they think about where they sit. So they sit on top of the kidneys. So you've got these two kidneys that are about the size of a fist each, and they pump up 6 quarts of blood every 20 seconds. So they're like the filter for your body. Imagine any type of filter, air, oil, fuel filter in your car. They filter the blood. So the blood's obviously got to be clean, right? On top of these filters, these hand-fist size filters, are 2 glands, and they're the adrenal glands. And the adrenal glands are like the pharmacy for the whole body. This is the chemist. This is where everything is housed to make you feel better or feel sluggish or whatever it may be. It aids digestion. It regulates your metabolism. Estrogen, progesterone levels are affected by it, testosterone, amongst a few other things. And what you need to understand about the adrenal glands is that they have one main building block. They have a few, but they have one main building block. And again, this is something that gets overlooked quite a lot. The one main building block is cholesterol. So when we think about cholesterol, we think about high cholesterol, low cholesterol. We start talking about what's a right guide to be within, right parameters to be within. So let's have a look deeper and let's think more specifically about females and your adrenals. So this thyroid problem, over or under, hyper or hypo, it tends to affect women between the ages of 20 to 55, statistically speaking. Women aged between the ages of 20 to 55, 20 to 50, it's quite obvious to say that they are sexually active. Now, obviously there's people sexually active under that age and over that age, I understand that, but the majority of them within 20 to 50 are sexually active. Now, because they're sexually active, what do you think they're doing because of that? They're taking birth control, right? So various means of birth control. What happens when they take that birth control? Well, it binds to the TBG. Remember this thyroid binding globulin that we spoke about? When it binds to the thyroid binding globulin, it's a mouthful, you can say that 5 times really fast. When it binds to the TBG, it slows down the thyroid. So, do you know, is it any wonder why you've got thyroid function problems? Yeah, it's just a no-brainer, a complete no-brainer. So the thyroid slows down, and this causes the adrenals to pick up and become stressed and to become fatigued. Adrenal fatigue is what it's known as. So the increase in cortisol goes up. When the increase in cortisol goes up, blood sugar levels go up, and then you've got a risk of insulin resistance. When you've got a risk of insulin resistance, you then move to pre-diabetes, and then from pre-diabetes you then move on to type 2 diabetes, which again is not something that you want to be having. I've got a list here. What else did I want to speak about? I wanted to speak about so different things in terms of stresses. You have I'm trying to think what I wanted to speak to you else about. Yeah, your blood sugar levels and basically everything go up. So this leads on to diabetes, or chances that it can. I wanted to speak to you about food side of stuff. Your enriched flours, your cereals, your breads, and any white-based products. These are enriched with iron, and the problem with them being enriched with iron or iron ore is that it's pure iron basically, and it's not ideal for the human body, amongst the bromine and everything else that they put in there. So this is all contributing to your bad thyroid function, adrenal stress, amongst a few other things, and you end up with a pretty short immune system. So when you eat all these foods from a digestive point of view, what also happens is it causes inflammation in the intestinal wall. Let me ask you a question. Would you stand and punch or stand and headbutt a wall for like 6 times per day? Well, you wouldn't do it, right? And well, that's basically what you're doing to your insides when you eat this shite food that's highly processed. It's toxic to your body, and it causes inflammation. And when it causes inflammation is basically your body's defense mechanism. When it causes inflammation, it makes your cortisol levels go up and your thyroid go down. So your thyroid stops working. In summary, it's not about the thyroid not working. It's about the stressors that are applied to it. So this is the emotional, the physical, environmental stresses that we were speaking about before. So your bromine, fluoride, chlorine, they're all mimicking the iodine, how would you call it? Leaky gut's another one. Having your diet not the way it should be. So again, junk foods and processed flours and specific dairy products that are tainted with certain hormones and antibiotics. It causes something called leaky gut syndrome. And leaky gut syndrome is basically where certain food particles, foreign food particles, are released into the bloodstream. The body then sends out antibodies to fight against it, and your body starts attacking itself again, which again is not a good thing. So, in summary, how do you get around all this? Well, here's one for a starter. The next time that you go in, if you have thyroid problems or you know somebody that does, next time you go in and speak to your GP and they say that your thyroid's not functioning properly, and they'll mention it's hypo or hyper, over or under, ask them why it's not working properly. Ask them what's broken. Ask them how can it be fixed. Ask them if it has something to do with their diet before you take the pills. Now, I'm not suggesting you shouldn't take medication or come off it immediately. What I am suggesting is you shouldn't use it as a long-term solution. You should be looking at your health in a more long-term goal. You want to be drinking lots of clean water that's not chlorinated from the tap water. This mass medication thing that we have in tap water. If it's fluoride that's in there in some places where you live, will have fluoride in tap water. Fluoride's in some bottled water, so have a little look for that. It should be clean filtered water from source. Eat a lot more vegetables. If you can't eat a lot of vegetables, then buy yourself a juicer. Add in vitamin C, vitamin E, niacin, selenium, beta carotene. There's loads of things in there that you can add in. In summary, it's pretty much move, exercise a little bit more, and eat clean, healthy foods and get rid of the rubbish. I bet you never thought I was going to say that, did you? Most of these videos that you'll see me punching out are pretty much the same outcome. what does this tell you? It tells you that the body functions together. The body doesn't, the body's organs, they don't function as one. They all work hand in hand together. It's super easy for you to sort and control your own thyroid function, only if you're willing to try. Speak to you soon. Hope it helped. Bye.